Hey friends, it's Sarah, and today I want to talk to you about the Asian Readathon hosted by Cindy of With Cindy. So May is Asian American and Pacific Islander month, which, as the name suggests, is a month to celebrate all the different Asian and Pacific Islander identities. So AAPI month is like a United States national month, and I am not American, but I figured it's a good chance to spotlight Asian and Pacific Islander voices, and Cindy has said that everyone's welcome to do it. You don't have to be American. So this is one of the readathons that I do every year. It's like this and like the magical readathon that I do all the time. And I know I always say the magical readathon is like pretty low key, and I would say it is, but this one's like actually low key. There are only 5 prompts. It's the same for everyone, and you can use one book for multiple prompts. The only twist on this is that for each book that you read for the readathon, they have to be of a different Asian identity. So you can read only 2 books, but they cannot be 2 books by Chinese authors. They'd have to be Chinese author and Iranian or something. So that's the only catch, and I think it's a really good twist because it encourages you to read more diversely and not just read all from one identity, but to kind of expand even further your reading horizons. Okay, so without further ado, I am a keener, so I've already read my 5 books for the month, and it's only May 10th. Just a little flex there. But I want to talk to you about the books that I read because I read some absolute bangers, and I think I found some new favorite authors. So I had a great time with this readathon. So the first prompt is just to read a book that is written by an Asian author. Literally the most basic and the basis of all the other prompts. So I read Crying in Mart by Michelle Zauner. This is a memoir about the author kind of grieving the loss of her mother and working her way through grief using kind of the cultural foods that they shared. Michelle is Korean, and this book is just flooded with descriptions of Korean food, and it makes you so hungry. I gave this one 4 stars. I know people have been absolutely raving everywhere on the internet about how good this memoir is, and I think it was really good, but it didn't quite hit me the way that something like Know My Name by Chanel Miller did. I'm not sure what about it didn't grab me that same way and didn't rip my heart out, because it was still very emotional and sad and loving, but it was missing a bit of, I don't know. It's just missing a little something for me. Maybe the pacing was slightly off. It didn't have quite the lyrical quality of some memoirs I've read. I'm not sure what it is. I did really enjoy it. I still think it's a great memoir. I just kind of expected it to be on the level of Know My Name or Somebody's Daughter, which both just really hit me, and it wasn't quite there for me. So I don't know, but I did really enjoy it. I think I would have enjoyed it probably even more if I hadn't heard all the hype about it, but it's still definitely worth checking out, and it's a very beautiful exploration of grief and love and the complicated family relationships and dynamics, and just how tough it is to lose a parent. The second prompt was to read a book featuring a friendship between at least 2 Asian characters. So for this prompt, I read Much Ado About Nada by Uzma Jalaluddin. I'm so sorry if I've said your last name wrong. And Uzma is Indian and Muslim, just like her main characters. So this follows Nada, and she goes with her best friend to a Muslim convention to meet her friend's fiance, and ends up running into his brother, who is actually a man that Nada has all sorts of history with. And so she's kind of faced with her past, and she has to kind of reconcile with this man. I actually read Hanakon Carries On this month as well. It just didn't fit in with the prompts with the other books that I had. They were both so excellent, especially Hanakon Carries On. If you watch the show Never Have I Ever, the main characters have Ben and Davy vibes, and it's just the banter is so good. In this book too, the banter is incredible. Uzma writes just such sparkling, witty dialogue, and the chemistry is so good. And this one also like takes place like in the present, but then we have like chapters that like flash back to the past to see how the two characters like got to this place in their relationship, and I thought that was done really excellently as well. So you kind of start with them and you're like, oh, what the heck's going on? And then you go in the past and you just start to like fall in love with both these characters, and oh, it was just so good. Just, I love it, love it, love it. I need to go check out Aisha at Last because I haven't read that one yet, but I read Hana-kan, and this one is an arc. Actually, it doesn't come out till June, but like go pick it up as soon as it's on sale because it's so good. I love this so much. And apparently both of her previous two novels have been optioned for TV film, and Hana-kan is optioned by Mindy Kaling, who did Never Have I Ever. Oh my god, that would be like so good. That'd be like my dream. I would love that so much. And also, Uzma is Canadian. So just like all around, this book had everything I wanted in it. I cannot say enough good things about these books. I gave like 4.5 stars. So the third prompt was to read a book written by an Asian author and or featuring an Asian character that is focused on identity and self-discovery. So for that one, I read Sorry Bro by Taleen Voskuni, who is Armenian. So this follows Nar, who just recently kind of broke up with her boyfriend who was not Armenian, and she decides to finally just like let her mom match her up with Armenian men. So she's starting to like get more into the community when she meets a beautiful, mysterious woman who she starts to fall for. And so it's kind of a like coming into your identity. I think it's technically a romance, but it feels more like an Emily Henry style romance where there's like a lot more going on than just like the love story between the two characters. It's a lot more about like identity and self-discovery and kind of connecting with your community and feeling a part of that. And also like living your truth when that might not be accepted by everyone in your life. This one I gave 4 stars. I thought, again, great characters, great chemistry. I really felt for Nara as she was going through this like journey of being like, oh god, I like this woman, but like I'm not out, like she's bisexual, but she's not out to her family, and she's worried how that will be taken. It was just really good, and it was so lovely seeing her get in touch with her culture through these events, and also through this woman that she starts to spend more time with, who is also very like involved in the Armenian culture. So the 4th book that I read was for the prompt, read a book by an Asian author and or featuring an Asian character that shows them going on an adventure. And for that, I read The Shape of Thunder by Jasmine Warga, and Jasmine is from Jordan. This is a middle grade novel, and it's pretty heavy. I gave it 4 stars. It was really well done. It was devastating. It follows 2 characters, one whose sister was killed in a school shooting, and her kind of like ex-best friend whose brother was the one who carried out the school shooting. So they are both grieving. It's been less than a year since that tragedy, and they're both grieving in different ways, and they've had this falling out, so they're not together anymore, and they're not friends. The girl whose brother did the shooting has done some research and is like, I think we can find a way to time travel back into the past and stop this from happening. So she reaches out to the other girl and is like, look, things are really bad and I miss you and everything is terrible, and I want you to help me because you're like the smarty pants, and I want you to help me figure out this time travel thing so we can go in the past and like save our siblings, and like everything will be back to normal and better, and we won't be in this awful like bad place anymore. And so it's this really like heartbreaking story of them kind of going on this like adventure to try and like figure out time travel. One of the more heartbreaking parts of this book is when the girl whose brother did the shooting is writing letters like to her brother, talking about kind of like what her like home life is, trying to like figure out why he did what he did, trying to kind of come to terms with his actions, and also like the guilt that she feels that she could have like stopped him or that she was somehow responsible for this. It's just really devastating. I've read another book by Jasmine Warga, and she just has such a strong voice when writing letters as the characters. I think those are often like the best parts of the book and the most like emotionally devastating, because it lets you really get inside the character's head and they say things that they don't want to say. It's like a very private way of revealing themselves, and I think she does such a good job of writing as like a 12, 13-year-old. It destroyed me a little bit. If you're like looking for the emotional devastation of Bridge to Terabithia, read Jasmine Warga, and specifically The Shape of Thunder. But it was great, it was devastating, and it was 4.5 stars for me. The final prompt was to read a book featuring an Asian character who's either famous, a hot mess, or eccentric. For that, I read The Arc of Yellowface by Rebecca Kuang, and Rebecca Kuang is Chinese, and I managed to snag this from work, which was super exciting because I don't know about y'all, but all I see on my social media is people talking about this book. And that's fair, like, I get it. I get it. So this does not actually follow an Asian character. This follows a white woman who is an author who, after her like writer friend's untimely death, takes that friend's manuscript, reworks it a bit, and then tries to pass it off as her own in order to get the success that her friend had when she was alive. So this is like, I don't even know. It's like contemporary, it's satire, it's a little thriller-y, kind of, like not scary at all, but it's tense like a thriller in certain parts. And this was a 4.5 star read for me. It reads like super quickly. I just flew through this one, and is really interesting being in the brain of the villain because it is written in like first person. So it's kind of like this scathing critique of the publishing industry, of cultural appropriation, and of the like kind of like white feminism and the white supremacy of it all. There's a lot of talk around also like the online book community, specifically book Twitter, and the way that kind of like spirals out of control and the different like scandals that come up on it, which like, yeah, book Twitter is a whole other thing. But I just thought this was really well done. Obviously Rebecca, I mean, I've seen her on Twitter and stuff, she's on there, but like she, even if you didn't know that, you could tell in here that she knows like the publishing industry inside and out, from like multiple sides of it, of like the online part, being like an author trying to get published, all that sort of stuff. And I just thought it was such a good critique. She does this great thing with the main character where kind of at the beginning you're like, okay, I kind of see like, you know, you feel slighted, like that sucks. And then, you know, the main character will say something racist or think something horrifying, and you're like, oh, okay, never mind, I take it back. Like, you're like, oh yeah, that like sucks that, you know, your friend has success and you didn't. But then she's like, she's just like a diversity hire basically, and you're like, oh, just kidding, you're terrible, I forgot. I mean, you can't forget much past the first like chapter. And there are moments in here where she kind of has like little sparks of clarity, and you're like, is she gonna realize? But then she just like doubles down and is like, no, I'm the victim. So also really playing into like the white tears and like the victimhood, and it's like twisted, and it's just so good. It's so good. If you have like any interest in the publishing industry, around anything around books, it's so good. There's part of the book that talks about like the own voices phenomenon, and like, you know, who is allowed to tell what stories. And it's not just the main character who's like the villain, but there's also like people in the publishing industry who actively help her culturally appropriate and publish this book that's not her own. Oh, it was so good. Highly recommend. Everyone's raving about it. I agree. They're right. They're right. What can I say? They're right. So those are the 5 books that I read for the Asian Readathon. I really enjoy this readathon. It really kind of helps push and like really make you think about the books that you're reading and like the identities. It's not enough to just be like, oh, I'm reading like books by Asian authors, but it's like, are you reading books only by Chinese authors? I appreciate that Cindy has built that like diversity into it. And that if you do just want to read one book, then like that's fine. But if you want to read more than one book for this, then you have to put in a little bit of work to accomplish that. So I had a grand old time. All of these books were bangers. It was so good. I had such a great time. I found a new favorite author. I read some excellent books, got my heart broken. I had so much fun. This was so good. I feel like last month I did the Magical Readathon and I had some good books and I had some like really medium books, but this one, it was just all bangers, 4 stars and above. I had a grand old time. I'm very happy with how this went. So let me know if you're also taking part in Cindy's Asian Readathon, and if you are, what's the best book that you've read for this? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Now go read a book. Hey friends, it's Sarah, and this is Sparta. So May is a month. I'm gonna lose my mind doing this. Someone. I have never known a person's name in my entire life.